Hey folks, this is Matt Rainwater, and today we're going to be doing something a little bit different. I'm actually streaming this live on Discord, and currently joined by one of the Discord peeps, Crimpod. You can say hi if you want, Crimpod. You can stay silent. It's up to you. We're just hanging out. Um, we were actually talking earlier in the Discord about Crimpod's kind of turned me on to this cool thing called the Big Les Show, and I've been really into it. I kind of just binged it over the course of like a week ago, and I'll get into that a little bit more in a little bit. But oh, I don't have I always don't have my keyboard plugged in. Well, what it is like I draw on a laptop, and it's like a tablet laptop that you can fold. And so I usually don't. I have a USB keyboard that I plug in when I'm drawing, so that I can do Control Z and stuff like that. And I generally, when I'm recording, I forget all the time because I have my headphone plugged in, and I think my headphone jack is the keyboard jack, and that's what happens to my brain. So this character that I'm drawing right now is for a forthcoming story that will happen after Trailer Park Warlock, and this is going to be a side character. And currently, I'm kind of deciding on her name. I started off with Dolores. I don't know if I'm going to stick with that. I'm probably, especially because there's already a character named Loretta, and I don't want to have like too many similar sounding names, basically. Because in my mind, I'm like, Dolores and Loretta sound a little too close together. And they're also kind of like Loretta's already such a long name. I don't want to be in a situation where when I'm writing, like, and it's like, I don't know if there's a situation where it's like Dolores and Loretta are doing blah, blah, blah. That takes up a whole ton of space in a word balloon. So I think I'm going to name this character Bella, is what I'm thinking. It's something that comes up. It's starting to come up a lot for me, and I've become very aware of this in writing Trailer Park Warlock, especially because as when Trailer Park Warlock gets like really lore heavy, and there's when you're throwing out words like millennia and just like big words, I'm like I can't fit misunderstanding into the word balloon properly, or just like there's all kinds of random words that are just big long words that get that make it really unwieldy when like I'm composing a panel or whatever. And Webtoon has a kind of a thing that I've learned since with my editor, and I love my editor. She's awesome, and she's really helped me out a lot in terms of like figuring out stuff and writing the story. But something that since she came on board, this is Christine Kim. Um, she so this is I don't know if this was the case before she came on, but since she came on, the thing with Webtoon is we're not going to hyphenate words. So in other words, like let's say you have a big long word like hypothecate. I don't think I've ever used that word ever, but let's say you have a big long word like hypothecate, and her general style notes are we need you to fit that word on a single line, no hyphenation of it. I forgot what she called the ruling. It's like Chicago style. I don't know, Chicago style or something. Um, but basically, that's become a new kind of challenge for me, I guess, because I know in early seasons, um, in early seasons, I do have some stuff that's hyphenated, and they've never brought it up. But now it is kind of an issue. But so I think the idea behind this character for Bella, I've got a couple of things going. One, she's kind of a side character. Um, and the way that I'm thinking about this right now is I'm gonna have it styled in such a way where basically like a bunch of characters living together, and Bella's one of the roommates, and kind of for her the gag is she's off always doing like pretty weird stuff, or not even weird stuff. A lot of times she's at the casino. It's kind of the idea there, and I kind of want this thing where her Bahama shirt, and we'll see how this works, but like her Bahama shirt changes pattern from scene to scene. I think that would be really fun. These are all ideas that I have when I'm designing characters, and we'll see like what makes it off the cutting room floor, like what makes it into the actual finished product. Cuz like the thing about in this stage of the creation process, it's all like it's all really nebulous, and even when I have like really concrete character designs down, um there's still a moment where it's like last minute I could make changes, and that happens all the time. I mean, when I started, it's very obvious. I think now when people look at older episodes of Trailer Park Warlock, like, I changed a lot of things about early character designs. Like Jake looks very different now from when he did at the beginning of Trailer Park Warlock. Like he's more muscular. Um, Darla looks different. Like her head shape changed a lot. And the same thing happened to Bev too. I remember getting like a lot of reader comments that Bev's face looked too much like an axe. And I kind of took that criticism to heart because I was like, okay, well maybe it's just too abstract. And later on, I think in I think it was season 3. I want to say season 3. I changed it to where it's more like there's more curvature to it, basically. Yeah. That's what I'm trying. I would like to. I mean, ideally, I would like to do it as like it's a completely new pattern every single panel she shows up in. Because like the idea would be kind of like, what's up with her shirt, basically. Um, to where like characters start to notice it and stuff. Like that would be kind of it would be kind of like a weird I don't know, meta gag or something. That would I like where you're going with that because that's actually a pretty awesome idea. Like especially in Trailer Park War and like in the Trailer Park Warlock universe, there's like room for her to have some kind of special magical shirt that I kind of like that. I don't have like a concrete idea just yet, but I really like where that idea is going. Um, like it's a, go ahead. Uh huh. Oh, that's cool. Yeah. My first idea of this came from so there's this old anime. Um, oh, what is it called? Gankutsu. Count of Monte Cristo, and it's basically, if I had to describe it, it's Count of Monte Cristo in space, and like for some reason, the Count of Monte Cristo is like a space vampire, and he was actually that character, the Count. and that was actually a pretty big inspiration for Plot 2 in season 2 of Trailer Park Warlock. But the reason I'm bringing that up is that they do this really cool stylistic thing in that anime because it's really it's beautifully animated, and they do this really weird stylistic thing where everybody's got like, or not everybody, but a lot of the characters have these very ornate uh, clothing that they use like these patterns for, and they did this interesting thing where the patterns on the clothing. I'm trying to figure out how to properly describe it. It's like when the characters move, it's like they're moving through the pattern. Like the pattern doesn't stay the exact same on their clothing as they move. It's very trippy looking. Yeah, it's extremely trippy looking, and it adds to like the otherworldly feel of the show. Um, Now this isn't like that in the it's just like sort of that idea of like, oh, messing around with patterning on clothing in ways that make for interesting visual cues and stuff. Um, yeah, that's where I would want to go. And like, so I think something in this next story that I'm also thinking a lot about is I kind of want, so like, I don't know, Trailer Park Warlock goes um, really hard on I don't know, like the serious elements, I guess, towards the end, or like the lore elements and all that stuff. And while I like it, I want that to be it for that. Like I want to have it be complete, and then just sort of, I don't know. I keep thinking about this next story in the sense of like maybe a little more sitcom oriented, in the sense that um, it's more focused on character interactions. It's more focused on jokes and gags. And oh, like Aris, you're talking about? Yeah, like I just want to I think I want to make it a little bit. I want to make this next story a little bit more episodic is not the right word, because I do like the idea of there being like a consistent continuing arc, and I definitely have character arcs that I want to implement. um I just don't want the character arcs to go so ham. Like they, like Trailer Park Warlock um goes so hard basically at the end. I say this writing the end right now that I'm like, okay, I never want to do this again. Like I like it. I'm glad that I'm doing it, but I never want to do this ever again for a story. And we'll see, right? Like, I mean, I'm sure I'll change my mind at some point, but for this one, I really specifically am trying to set a style guide for myself where I'm like, okay, this is the parameters that the story's going to be in, and this is where I want, like from beginning to end, where I want everything to sort of reside. And instead of where, like with Trailer Park Warlock, I had no clue. Like I just kind of started, you know, and like that first season is really obvious in that sense, where it's just like I'm just trying to figure out what this world looks like. I'm trying to figure out what these characters do, why they're doing it, and then by season 2, when I'm thinking about, oh, okay, here's the world, here's like sort of how people exist in it. That's when I suddenly am like, okay, let's make this a big epic story, and then it goes from there. But I think that's the difference between then and now, is like when I started out, I just was starting from that place of, I don't know, like kind of an amateur place basically. And now I have all that under my belt. And also I think I mean the other aspect of it too is that when Before Trailer Park Warlock, there was another story that I did with a friend, my friend Austin. We did a story called Garage Raja together. And Garage Raja, we sort of were going into it like, oh, it's going to be this big, epic, one piece type story where we just keep going on and on and on. And it's this big adventure and et cetera, et cetera. And we got 4 books in, and which is probably 3 books too many. And we quit at the 4th book with this idea of like, oh well, after the 4th book, the actual adventure was going to open up. And I think there's a part of me that has from that experience felt like, oh, I still want to close that out. Like I still want to close that feeling out of having completed a big epic thing. And so that's ended up being basically like seasons 4, well actually like 3 uh, through to the final season of Trailer Park Warlock. But after I finish that, I'm going to be tired of it. And so I think that was another thing that I got from the Big Les show was that, of course, Big Les show goes pretty hard too, actually. And so like the things that I like about it that I would like to see in my own stories that I keep is more of those like character moments. Like there's so many good just like the thing I love about that show is just like all the interactions between characters where they're just like talking about whatever. And there's like I was watching through like I think it was like Mike Nolan's long vacation or whatever, or long weekend. And there's just like this one episode where they're just like hanging out in his front yard skateboarding. it's it's such it's so good because it's just like them messing around and like and then Clarence like totally screws it up and like hits his head on his yeah, on the overhang. Yeah, it's such a good setup for just like a stupid like gag. And um I just love that. Like it reminds me of all the stuff that I really liked watching Trailer Park Boys, and like all the stuff that I really get out of and kind of like stuff that inspired a lot of the beginning for Trailer Park Warlock, which did kind of start from that place of that feeling of just like, oh, nothing super important's going to happen, but we're going to have a good time kind of a thing. Uh, yeah. No, it definitely, like, Big Les Show definitely has a lot of that kind of vibe to it, but then goes into, like, the really surreal elements with the Chumas and all that stuff, which is also really fun. And yeah, the end's really great, and I love the Sassy the Sasquatch stuff. Um, that is one of the big that encapsulates a big thing that I have been wanting to do in comics, which is just like have kind of goofy, trippy stuff happen, but also it kind of manages to be thoughtful at the same time. And when I was watching the Sassy the Sasquatch, I felt like, oh, this is sort of like this reminds me of stuff that I was thinking about when I was making Bat Monster, but it's more coherent like than Bat Monster. Bat Monster's completely just like it's completely nonsense for the sake of nonsense. Um, all right, I'm almost done here. I haven't watched that one yet. The last thing I watched was the interview with Clarence, where he's like the director and stuff. And I'm gonna. Is that on the official YouTube page? Okay, All right, I'm gonna have to find that because I saw it come up in my thing, like my sidebar or whatever, and I didn't get to it. So it's one of those things where it's like if I don't look at it then, I have to I'm gonna have to look for it intentionally, basically. Um, yeah. I other than the Sassy the Sasquatch stuff that they're doing right now. Oh, that's okay. Yeah. No, I love it. It's pretty great. Although it sounds like that it sounds like the next episode's going to be the last one though from the way Jared was talking about it. Like cuz he was saying it was going to be a really long one and from the way it sounded like it was going to conclude the Sassy stuff. Yeah. Yeah, no, that's the thing. It's like that's the other part that I also really like is you're kind of just along for the ride, and you get to watch whatever it is that like Jared is interested in doing in that moment, and I think that's pretty awesome. Yeah. All right. I think this is it. Oh, you mean like magic and stuff? Oh, this is the problem with this last season is like everything that I have to do has to conclude everything that I've set up, and I have like a short. It's not short necessarily. It's like how much? It's 29 episodes, right? So I have to conclude everything that I've set up in 29 episodes, and so I haven't had a whole lot of time to really put in all that fun stuff, basically. Which is another thing that I'm learning is like the one of the big problems with having big arcs um, is that once you're kind of locked in, it becomes very difficult to play around with stuff. So at the moment, no. I feel sad to say that because that is one of my favorite things in writing Trailer Park Warlock, and I'm gonna have to incorporate all that into um, what will come after, basically. Which is another reason why why I want to end it. Although I wasn't the one who made that decision, that was Webtoon. But anyway, this is finished inks for Bella. I'm gonna finish recording. I'm gonna turn the recording off for this, but I'll stay streaming. Thanks for y'all who have been hanging out on YouTube, and we will talk again soon. And also, thank you, Crimpod, for hanging out with me for this recording. We will we will see y'all again soon.